Hello and welcome to Property Mastermind Podcast, episode 184. Today we are talking about property development profits, what you can expect, what type of profit you will get, which developments give which specific amounts of profit. You're going to learn a lot as usual, and we're looking forward to unpacking this for you and getting you excited for 2025. So let's jump on into episode 184. Hello and welcome to episode 184 Property Mastermind Podcast. Bob Andersen and Hilary Saxton. Clearly, that's Bob Andersen and I'm Hilary Saxton. What was that laugh for? Right. Oh yeah, how can you get that wrong? Hey, before we get started, I would love to give the book away. Property Millionaires Exposed this week. The book's going to Chris Ballett. Chris.
Hey, Chris.
And the post to you, and looking forward to hearing back from you real soon. So as I said, we're going to talk property development profits this week and which developments usually tend to deliver which type of profit or how much and how you can work that sort of stuff out. So you're going to find it really interesting. But before we do, Bob.
Yeah. So.
No, I'm giving you, I'm just got to, because we've had a bit of a nightmare. For those that are watching on YouTube, it's a little bit blurrier today because we've got a different camera.
Dramas in the studio.
Some dramas in the studio, so I've got to watch Bob.
2 cameras.
Yeah, we did. This is
now we're on the iPad.
With a different camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy days. Anyway, we'll get there. We've got there. Hey, just wondering, Bob, over your New Year break, did you come up with any tips?
Any tips?
Yeah.
It's no good. It's no good making up a list of things to do during the break. Because you don't do them.
Okay.
Or at least that's me anyway. However, I did relax well. That was the main thing. I had some, a number of little jobs I wanted to do, things on the boat, this, that. I never quite got there. But
so is your tip then don't load up your holiday with tasks?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah. Just concentrate on relaxing. That's the number one thing to do. Relax.
Okay, that's cool.
And it worked well.
Okay, good.
Okay, 2025. Have you got a word for the year? Like, how some people think of a theme or a word?
Yep, I do.
Have you come up with anything?
I'm playing with a couple right now, and I would challenge you all or ask you all to give yourself a word for the year or even for the first quarter. It's really useful to have that word around you and in front of you to keep you on track and stay motivated. So if you're thinking property development for yourself this year, whether that means just dipping your toe into a bit of education or dipping your toe in deciding, yep, that's it, I'm in, I'm going to do property development. What's a word that will help you on that journey? For you, it might be organisation or being organised. So if you have that word on a Post-it note or on your screensaver on your phone, that's a reminder that, that's right, I'm trying to be and I'm aiming to be and I will be, I'm not going to say trying, I am more organised. So think of a word that will help you achieve what it is that you want and have it in front of you for at least the first quarter as a reminder. A great one's focus. Another one, I'm using energy as one of mine, believe it or not. But there's a word that comes before it and I'm not sure yet. So I'm playing with something energy. And that's currently, I'm thinking it's not positive energy. It might be vibrant.
Vibrant. That's the word that was coming into my mind.
Really? Well, maybe it's that. I'm not 100% sure, but that will be the word that I have for at least the first quarter. So if you do decide to have a word for a quarter and you're watching this at any time, it doesn't matter when you're watching this, put in the comment what word you chose because I'd like to hear it and then really work on focusing on having that word around you and having it as a prompt to do the things that you want to do. It might even be that you just want to feel more happy. It might mean that you want to feel more satisfied. It might mean that you want to actually do the thing that you've been thinking about doing for a long time. So whatever it is, have that word around you as a prompt to ensure that you start working toward that journey. And that's something that's a real mindset asset that you can use. There you go. I didn't use hack. How good's that? I use mindset asset. And that's a great asset. Anyway, Bob, we're going to talk profits today.
Okay.
And I re-listened to, believe it or not, when I was driving for, hang on, here comes a check, my skin check today. So I was driving for about 20 minutes and I thought, I'm going to listen to the podcast we did way back in episode 28 around property development profits.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was actually quite good to listen to. I was like, oh, that's quite good. So I thought we could cover off on that because obviously our podcasting's gotten a lot better, and I believe that we could probably give some further information. And plus, people don't always go back as far as 28; they might have just found us. So we're going to talk about the profit that you can make from property development. And as a reminder, we Property Mastermind, we do education as well as property development as well as help investors. So, but we started with education, and that's our main thing at Property Mastermind. So we help people do and teach them how to do small, safe developments. So it's about smaller developments. We can do larger ones because of Bob's experience, but everyone in our community is either doing a splitter, a duplex, what was that about? Or they're doing maybe a subdivision and building something on the back, maybe a reno on the front, or 4 townhouses, maybe 6, or that's likely to be their second one. The odd person might jump straight there. So that's really where we sit in the education space. Although last year we had a mentoring student jump straight in and go straight into industrial. So, he was just like, that's what I want to do, and he's game on, which is cool.
That's good. We can handle that.
Yeah, but so for today, we're going to unpack what the returns on those types of developments will give Joe average. And hey, we're all just Joe average. I mean, you're all Joe amazing, but what I'm saying is, yeah, well, Joe's a girl and a guy's name. That's why I like it. Yeah, but so it's no one special. We're all special. It's nobody in particular, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So, Bob, let's talk about a splitter. If you would like to define it, can you just define a splitter?
Okay, so there's two very closely related things here. One's a splitter and the other is a 2-lot subdivision. So a lot of people get the name sort of crisscross there. They think of a 2-lot subdivision as a splitter or vice versa. So at the very bottom end of property development, a splitter. So what it is, it's 2 lots on one title. Now, you don't find them everywhere. Places like Brisbane, a lot of the land originally when it was cut up was, if I'm using square metres, because back in those days they used perches, they used to have what they call 16 perch lots, which are 405 square metres. But a lot of them, people took 2 lots, and so they took 2 405 square metre lots, but on one title. Now, that's 2 lots on one title. So when you now want to create a subdivision, if you like, or create 2 lots that you can build on, it's already 2 lots. All you have to do is split the title. So with a splitter, you split the title, but you don't have to split the land because it is already 2 lots. A 2-lot subdivision, you still end up with 2 blocks of land, if you like, but it's where you start off with 1 lot and 1 title and cut it into 2 lots and 2 titles. So that's slightly more complex, and you need to get a development permit to do that.
But for a splitter, you don't need to get a development permit because it's already done.
It's already 2 lots. Yeah.
So let's talk about, and we'll go with, you brought up Brisbane, so we'll talk about it in Brisbane. Say you were to find a splitter in Brisbane, and splitters are great, but they are a little bit harder to come by.
Yeah, well, people have been, what we call cracking splitters or doing splitters for, probably 30 or 40 years, so there's less of them around. But then as some houses get older and, aren't really up to it anymore, then a lot of those are sitting on splitters. So, there's always splitters out there.
Oh, there's a wee tip, isn't there? Looking for the older properties that are sitting on a splitter.
Something a bit dilapidated. Because usually the old house crosses both blocks, crosses the boundary. So if you want to end up with 2 lots on 2 titles, the house has to go, generally speaking.
So let's say, Bob, you were looking at a splitter in Brisbane, and so what would the profit likely be on just not developing anything else, just creating 2 separate pieces of land that you sell? What would that likely be on average? Remember, we're talking thumb rules here. We're talking 2025, and no one's going to hold us to it. But just so you get an idea of what you can make.
Yeah. So with splitters, you don't make a lot of money because most of the work's already been done. In fact, some splitters, when you look at the effort, they're not worth doing. But if you get something that's worth doing, it'll be a 6-figure profit. It'll be probably somewhere $100,000 to $120,000. That sort of money.
And how long does that take, Bob?
Oh, very fast. Because you don't have to get a development permit, because it's already 2 lots. All you really need is a lawyer to lodge the paperwork. The quickest one I've ever seen is 3 days.
Whoa! So when you said,
but I'd allow
2 weeks.
I'd allow 30 days.
30 days, okay. So kind of thumb ruley, we're looking at 30 days, around 100 to 120,000.
What a lot of people do, though, because you don't make a lot out of that, they then think about building on the lots.
Yeah.
The new house. But that's the next step.
Okay, so we've got that thumb rule there. So let's go.
Subbies, I guess, are the next step.
Well, let's talk about if they did build on those, then what would the profit likely be on those? If they built 2 separate houses, I know, so this is when we fall into the it depends where it is scenario.
It does depend where it is too, because as we know, in any city, you've got your lower end value suburbs, your mid market and your high end. So it very much depends where it is. But if we just go like middle of the market, let's say, and if you want to choose a place like Brisbane, you'd probably find about 2.4. Probably about 400 to 500,000. And it would depend a lot on the suburb. So when I say that sort of money, there's some suburbs could be 3 and some could be 6. It can vary quite a bit.
But you mentioned mid range.
Yeah. What's wrong with 400,000 profit?
Oh, so if you were to do the split, decide that 120 wasn't enough, decided to build a house on each side, you could make around 400,000 profit.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Profit margin number 2. Thanks, Bob. Okay, the next one is the splitter. I mean, it is where you are actually doing the subdivision.
2-lot subdivision, yeah. So a little bit more complex because you have to get a development permit for this. And then you'll have to connect services, and there's different things you have to do. You've got to do more work and spend a bit more money on these. Just going back one step, one of the great things about a splitter is because it's already 2 lots and it ends up 2 lots, you don't have to pay council contributions. That's a big saving.
How good's that?
In Brisbane, it'd be about $30,000 saving. Back to the 2-lot subdivision, you do pay contributions because you're making 1 lot into 2 lots, so you've got 1 extra lot. So you would pay those contributions, about 31,000. And look, that varies everywhere you go. I just happen to be talking about Brisbane. Contributions change. Every state, every council, it's different everywhere you go. But because it's a little bit more work involved, you're probably looking at, if you just did the 2 lots and then sold and made a profit on that, probably talking more like about maybe $150,000, $160,000 profit, which is still pretty healthy.
On each site?
On the whole project.
Oh, on the whole project. So, cutting it like that. So we've got a mentoring student in New South Wales, and he is doing a subdivision. And initially, I think we may have talked about this, but it's a great story, and I can't wait to interview him because it's really exciting. And he wrote us a great New Year's email and Merry Christmas, and I replied to him today. So, hey, Tom, looking forward to catching up with you. But he had a site, and he thought he would get it into 2, but it turns out he could get 3 if the council allowed it, and they ended up allowing it. So that made the profit margin a lot better than he initially thought. So being able to get 3 instead of 2 makes that even better in this case.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think it just got over the line as a 2-lot subdivision, just made enough profit to make it worthwhile. But with the 3, there's a lot of cream on that 3rd lot.
Yeah. So you're very lucky. But, you make your own luck.
Yeah.
Had he not bought that site, then he wouldn't have had that luck. Had he not come to us and, joined us, he would not have even taken any action forward. So, you just make your own luck by keeping on going. And I can't wait to see his future luck fold out in front of him. That's a good way to say it. So, Bob, what about if we go to a duplex? And remember, I'm just kind of trying to open up people's eyes to what's possible, because when I tell people, they're kind of like, oh, what? Wow.
Yeah, particularly if you put it into yearly income.
Yes.
Let's just say you did a 2-lot subdivision, you made $160,000. A lot of people work 2 years full time to make that. It's $80,000 a year. I mean, some people make less than that, some people make more, of course, but for somebody on $80,000 a year, that's 2 years full-time pay you've got to do, full-time work. 38 weeks a year for 2, 78, whatever it is. No, 48 weeks. 96 weeks of work to make that money. And there's not a lot of hours in doing a two-lot subdivision because it's the consultants that do all the work. You're just basically managing them, coordinating them. So often when people get a shock when they realise how many years of work that's equal to. Yeah.
Do you know what happens though after a while in the property development space? And I can't wait for many of you to join us. Is you become so used to talking about big numbers that it becomes really watered down, because when you said 100 and something thousand, I was like, oh yeah, whatever. I don't even, that's nothing. I just think, not that it's about me having that. It's about me having those conversations about big amounts of money so often that I don't, it registers as money is not even a thing. It's just kind of it's something you talk about. It's not something I don't know, what is the word I'm looking for here? The more you do property development, the more money means nothing. It's just a number. Yeah, it's just a number. Yeah. So anyway, we're on to the duplex.
Well, the duplex, yeah. So once again, that's going to vary a bit from where you are, the locality of it. I mean, some duplex units might sell for $800,000 or $900,000 in a regional area or whatever, or like the one we just did, where each unit sells for about $2.5 million. So, and I've seen duplexes. The most expensive duplex I've seen, and this wouldn't be a record anymore, but because it's probably about 15 years ago, I knew somebody pretty well who did a duplex. I think it was in Hedges Avenue on the Gold Coast, which is a very expensive street. I would have been good 15 years ago, and they were $7.5 million each unit.
Holy moly!
And that was staggering. But these days, if you did one in that same street, I don't know, it could be $12 million per unit. I don't know. So, I mean, a duplex can be any amount of money.
But so if we're talking, well, we've spoken enough about ours.
Middle of the market?
Ours is probably upper end for where we are.
Top of the middle.
Top of the middle.
Bottom of the top.
Okay, so let's see. So the bottom of the top. So if we're looking at the top end of the market, the one we've just completed is at the bottom of that. Or if we're looking at the middle of the market, it's at the top of the middle of the market. On that cusp, yeah. So that duplex, the profit on that, Bob, is
it's a bit over $600,000. There
you go, $600,000 profit on a duplex, and we've got joint venture partners in that one, and it's just been a fabulous experience, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has been. Yeah, so that's sort of that.
That's a lot of work. I mean, a lot of years you don't have to work. Yeah.
So if someone was to do that type of duplex and make $600,000, that could be the equivalent. I think the average full-time wage in Australia is somewhere around $88,000 to $90,000 a year. So that's about 6 or 7 years full-time work, and it's very much a part-time job doing a duplex. I mean, it's not that much in it. So middle of the market, let's say middle of the market type duplexes, you're probably making,
400?
450,
somewhere 450,
like that.
Yeah.
Out of a middle of the market type duplex, which is pretty good.
You can do that while you're still at work.
Oh, you could do 3 of them while you're still at work.
Slow down, Bob.
Once you know what to do.
Yeah, okay.
But easily, yeah. Look, the bottom line.
You need a bit of a team to do that.
Forget it. Let's just say you do one.
Yeah.
You could easily do one while you've got a full-time job.
Yep.
And have plenty left. I mean, we know people that have done bigger projects with a full-time. I think the Ross did 7. Maybe he did those 7 townhouses in Coffs Harbour while he was working up in the mines. So, yeah, duplex. Duplex, the nearest thing to a duplex would be a 2-lot subdivision and build 2 houses. When you do that, though, there's more flexibility in doing a 2-lot subdivision and building 2 houses than there is doing a duplex. I often call a duplex a big house with a wall up the middle.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. But with a duplex, you buy a block of land, you build the 2 duplex units, and when they're finished, you subdivide them into 2 separate titles, and then you sell it or whatever you want to do. The 2-lot subdivision and the 2 houses is you do the subdivision at the beginning. So your duplex you subdivide at the end when it's all finished, but the 2-lot subdivision you can subdivide the land into, and let's say you're going to build the 2 houses, but you could just build one at a time, and you can't build a duplex unit one at a time. And the advantage of that is that you sometimes can do it with having to put less money in, because you could just do one and sell it and then use that profit to then go in and finance your next one. And so you can often do that with less money because you do the subdivision at the beginning, and it gives you that flexibility. I mean, if you had the money, you'd do both the houses at the same time.
And the reason for that is because you might as well have your money working for you and go faster.
Yeah. But if you don't have quite enough to do the two houses at the same time, then you can just do one. You still have to buy the land, do the subdivision. Because there's another type of in-between type thing, and you'll know who I'm talking about when I say this, because we know somebody's doing a few of these, where they buy an existing house and then they cut a block of land off in the back, usually what we call a Battle Axe block, but they retain the front house. So this is not demolishing a house and then subdividing into two lots and doing two houses. It's not demolishing a house and building a duplex. It's keeping the house on site and basically building another house on the back and subdividing that other house off. So you're not demolishing the house. In this case, you're keeping the original house. You might have to do a bit of a reno on it, depending on what condition it's in. But that's sort of something in the middle. You know, it's the middle in the middle there somewhere. It's pretty close to the subdivision and doing two houses, except they're doing the subdivision and building one house. You already have an existing house there.
You could, though, if the zoning allows, you could cut off and even put a duplex on the back. You could,
well, in some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
And
or even two townhouses, all sorts.
Yeah. And not only that, some people might look at putting a bit fancy, putting like a rooming house in there.
There you go.
To do something different from just a normal house.
So, if we were on to so what was the profit on that Battle Axe? Generally, likely
$350 probably.
Yep, and that requires a lot less money.
Less money, less work, only building one house.
Yep. And you might need to do a little reno on the front. So it's a great way to dip your toe in the water and get started. So, yeah, if you're thinking about small subdivision, or small property development, that's a great way to get started. But next one, Bob, let's talk townhouses. Say you are going to let's go to, I was going to say 4, but I'm now remembering some mentoring students who emailed us before Christmas, and they did 3 and said, well, they actually, I should have got the text. It was a text or an email, said, thanks so much. And we get those ones. Awesome, couldn't have done it without you, all that stuff. And they just bought another site to do another development on. So that was Stefan and Debbie, which is so exciting for them. I'm trying to get them on the podcast, but they're both a bit like, don't want to. But anyway, Bob, what about 3 townhouses?
Yeah, so once again, 3 townhouses, got to get a development permit. It's a bit more complex than a duplex and often takes a little bit longer to get the development permit through than a duplex. And so a bit longer there. The actual dollar value of the 3 townhouses might not be much different from a duplex in that same area. See, quite often duplexes tend to be a bit bigger and a little bit more upmarket in the fit out than a townhouse, say, in the same street.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what it means is you might do, say you do a duplex and it's worth $1.6 million per duplex. That's $3.2 million.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to do 3 townhouses and they were $1.1 million each, that would be $3.3 million. It's almost the same dollar value. And that's what tends to happen, because when you've got 3 townhouses, they're generally worth a bit less than the duplex, say, in the same street. They're smaller for a start, and they normally target a slightly different buyer, typically. So, and the standard finish is a little bit less. So there might not be a lot of dollar difference between a duplex and 3 townhouses in the same street necessarily.
And the interesting thing there, which would come into play, is the area. You wouldn't put a nice duplex because you're going to make more money if it's an area where those people aren't living, where that money's just not being spent on property there. And so that's kind of when you start learning about finding a site, that stuff all falls into play. So, Bob, if we go to 4 townhouses, then what happens?
Well, you make more profit, but you'll have to put more money into the deal, really. And if you want to talk about profit, well, say the 3 townhouse sort of scenario again, probably in the range of $450 to $500. But once again, depends on where you are. I'm sort of talking Brisbane here. I mean, you go to Sydney, obviously, unless you get right out, values are a lot higher, a higher Brisbane, sort of number 3 city, followed up pretty closely by Adelaide, So it very much depends which city you're in, but not only what city you're in, what suburb within the city. So I'm just going mid-range, sort of Brisbane type stuff. 4 townhouses, yep. Once again, a bit bigger, more money, a bit more equity, more profit.
So more equity gets started. So that's why
the 600,000 to 650 or $700,000 profit range.
Okay, and I suppose that's something else that people need to consider. You're probably going to make more money when you've got more to put in, and whether that's your money or you have an investor with you, whether that's a loan partner or an equity partner, whether they're loaning you the money or they're in the deal with you.
So if you made 650, 600 to 700,000, say you made 700,000, that's a decent project. If you had a joint venture partner who puts up the equity, you're making 350,000, you're not putting any money up. That's a pretty good deal.
That's a great deal. Put your hand up right now if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, that's a great deal. How do I get on that?
Yeah, so that's a good 4-year salary for the average person.
That's a life changer for a lot of people.
Yeah, for very much a part-time job. And you could keep your day job. You don't have to give up your day job
immediately.
No, to do a project.
It might be what it could do for a lot of people is just buy a bit of time, not people finding that they're not having to work so hard. Often people are, the children have come along and mum's she's working, gone back part-time and they've got 1 or 2 children or maybe 3 or in some cases 5. But you've got some kids come along and when that happens, you just find that you're working so much to provide a lifestyle. So by adding property development to the mix, it means that you buy back a bit more of your own time. You can cut back on a bit of the work that you do and still provide a better lifestyle. Yeah. And that's so important, isn't it?
Yeah. If you did give up your day job and you did, say, a 4-pack of townhouses, only project you're doing, it's a 2-year project. They made 700,000 out of the project. That's 300. You get your money at the end, but it's 350,000 a year income. Like 700,000 at the end of 2 years. Let's spread it over 350,000 a year. If that's it for all you did, if it's your only job you just did a 4-pack, you'd be making 350,000 a year, and you'd be working probably on average because it varies, but about 4 or 5 hours a week. So you basically got a 6-day weekend, 1 day work. It's not even a full day on average. And that's not a bad job either. That's a good side gig.
Yes, it's a fabulous side gig. So, Bob, is there a rule of thumb if we go from 4 townhouses to 6 to 8? Do you just what was the profit with 4? Do we just add on X? So how does that work?
It goes up a little bit per townhouse because there are economies of scale when you get a bit bigger. It's not a lot, but you do make a bit more per townhouse when you get doing more townhouses. So yeah, there are economies of scale in there for sure.
So as
not a lot.
As the townhouse number increases, it's not just adding on the same number; it increases a wee bit as well. Yeah, cool. Okay, so we've gone right to there. Let's go to now just the last one. Shall we cover off on doing something like we're doing with the industrial blocks?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good twist. Something commercial, industrial.
Commercial, yeah.
In this case, industrial. So we're doing a few industrial developments at the moment. Those profit margins are quite a bit higher than residential, and it's deemed to be by financiers and valuers to be more risky than residential, and therefore you need to make more profit margin on it. The way we do it's pretty good and pretty safe. But
why do they consider it more risky, Bob?
Because the industrial market and the commercial market and the retail market for that, they're different types of commercial properties. It's more volatile. Values are more volatile than in residential by a fair bit. They're very much driven by the economy and other drivers that are a bit different from residential. And because of the extra volatility, you're expected by financiers to make a high profit margin, which you do. I mean, you know that the profit margins we're making on the industrial is quite a lot more than what we do on residential.
So say you were to do like the tech shed style that we're doing, which are, tilt slabs, mes floor with like a little kitchenette sort of thing. And it's sort of for like a lot for tradies kind of, you can imagine they have a little workshop there. For say you were doing 16 of those in a unit. So you drove in, it came in and came out. 130 metre units. What would be the profit margin on those?
Well, the profit, the dollar.
Just so you know, I do know. I'm just asking for the people listening.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to remember now. The dollar profit would be probably around 2.2 million on that.
It's a big jump up from the original Splitter.
Well, it's a bigger project, obviously.
Comes with risk.
Yeah. So, as developers, we use what we call return on cost or margin on cost to decipher the profitability of a project. So it's really pretty simple mathematics. It's your profit as a percentage of your total costs. It's a percentage. And something like a duplex, we're looking at a 15% profit as a percentage of costs. That doesn't mean you make 15% on your money because you're gearing like probably 4-1 with the financier. So that might be equal to 50% return on your money because of the gearing effect. You're putting in 25% of the money, and the bank's putting in, or the financier's putting in 75%. So you're getting that gearing effect. But that 15% margin, it would be typical of something like a duplex, townhouses, more up around 18, 20, that sort of thing. Industrial, the stuff we're doing is like 25, 30. So it just varies with the product, with the type of product.
And the different margin. So, Bob, I think I just really wanted to cover off on that because I know I often talk to people on the phone and the conversations are like there's varying. Some people are like, do you guys teach just big stuff? I'm like, no, we actually, most of our 99% of our people are doing small safe developments, and like I said, we just finished a duplex as well. So it's just letting people know that everyday people can do it, and we're everyday people and we do it. So if it's something you're interested in doing, and maybe it's something you've looked at for 2025, well then feel free to reach out and have a chat with me about it if you want to learn how we do it or how working with us works. But otherwise, if it is something you've thought about, just keep following us, keep listening to the podcast, share it with your mates, and maybe think about who's in your world that might like to do property development with you.
Yeah. That would be a great thing to do.
That would be a great thing to do.
Others as well as yourself.
Yeah. So we thank you for listening, and we'll look forward to catching up with you on episode 185, which will be next week. Alrighty. Bye for now.
Bye.